Hello, for gaming community and Beyblade community as a whole. We're here today for our eighth episode of For Gaming Beyblade discussions. This time, we're going to do it a little bit different. We have myself, my man Crisis Crusher, and Geester99 is reporting
Yo,
back in. Yeah, we always usually just talk about Beyblade. I do have a few recordings with Geester that we had. I think I need to look into them to make sure that they're not lost. Um, because I think the recording app it only like keeps them for so long, so I need to get on those. But either way, we're here to discuss the WBBA. So on Instagram, I follow. I'm not sure how to say. I think it's Mirai Beyblade. Is that how y'all say it? Or
that's how I would say it.
Yeah, Mirai.
yeah, it's Mirai underscore Beyblade. I'm going to put his link in the description below on this video. If you're on Instagram or you follow like the WBA, you may already have seen him or know of him. He's a really great young blader in Japan. And I've talked to him before. Talked to his dad. Mostly is on his account, and I asked him if he wanted to do an interview, but he doesn't. They don't really speak English, and we don't really speak Japanese. So we just sent him the questions that Mike and I had, and he answered them for us to the best of his ability. So we're going to just discuss the questions, and then we'll give a little bit of our input on them, and then we'll just go from there. All right. So let me bring out the questions real quick. All right. Y'all still hear me? You good?
Yep.
Yep. Solid. All right. So the first question we had was, what is your favorite stadium to play in? And we got that just because I think that was your question, right, Mike?
Yeah, that was one of mine.
All right. His answer is he likes the DB Stadium the most because most of the official tournaments held in Japan use it, and he's practicing to be strong in that stadium. So that kind of goes along with what we've been saying about the DB Stadium is used mainly within the rest of the world, not just Japan. I know within the WBBA as a whole, and as he said, I mean, it's what's used. What made you ask him that, Mike?
Mostly because a lot of the conversations within the WBO that everyone's been having is whether or not, we should be allowing more of these stadiums into the ranked format. And I know from my own posts that I did, we had the biggest discussion was whether or not people like the idea of the DB stadium or not for ranked. And I just really wanted to find out if he had a preference to like the standard stadium like most of these other players do, because a lot of players I know in Japan, with attack being worth 2 points, they use attack a lot more than people over here in the WBO do.
Yeah, more stamina focused, more stamina driven.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was a legit question, and I mean he had a legit answer. And it like he kind of emphasized like that's what everybody's using because I mean, Takara Tomy makes the stadium, and that is the newest up to date stadium, and it's a little bit bigger. It is stamina focus. I don't want to talk too much because we have some other questions like surrounding it. Um, but they do use it, and he didn't really. I mean, his answer was just straight up. He was like, "Yeah, that's the stadium I want to play in because that's the stadium we're having tournaments in." So I think if it was even just implemented here, I mean, some people probably wouldn't like it, but then again, we have so many new players, and I think the spirit of competition, like you're gonna get used to that stadium. You're gonna start playing in it.
Well,
Um,
well,
yeah,
I think what you need to take from what he said is he says he's practicing in it to become better in it.
yeah,
And that's what pretty much a lot of us that are for the DB Stadium and the WBO have been saying to the people that are saying it sucks for other Beyblades.
yeah,
Practice in it.
yeah,
Practice in it, learn what's good in it, and use what's good. Like,
yeah,
that's just what it is.
The thing is, there's just no reason to do that right now. There's no reason to use your time to practice in a stadium when
When it's
it's
not
not ranked or anything.
right. But
So
that's that.
if you have limited time, you're only going to use that time for whatever you can or whatever you're going to be playing in for your tournaments. You're not going to go through the trouble of playing in something else when you're never going to play in it.
Right. But then if they made it ranked, they would have to practice in it,
Yeah,
essentially.
of course.
So then they would actually then learn what's good in it, rather than just saying what I currently like using from the regular stadium is trash.
I was just saying that because you guys were talking about how the reason why he plays in that stadium or likes it the most is because that's what's used officially. But right now, people just don't spend the time in the DB stadium because it's not ranked. There's no reason for them to try. And if you have limited time, you're not going to use your limited time on something that's going to be irrelevant for the tournaments you're playing in later.
That's true.
Right.
If we don't, yeah.
That's
If it's
why
not,
I've almost been more for when the WBO just says screw it and they just make something ranked instead of like sitting there and doing the trial period. I mean, I understand why they do the trial period stuff because obviously it makes sense to make sure everything works fine. But at in my head, people would just actually try more if it's ranked, and if it sucks, then you just switch it on the fly. It's a lot more efficient that way, and people will actually run your tournaments.
yeah, yeah. I can see that, or I agree with that. Like if it was just implemented in, like people are gonna they're just gonna do it, and there might be some like growing pains with it, but overall, like you would kind of get over it. And another thing is like maybe Hasbro, like maybe there may be some exceptions with that because Hasbro makes a very like diverse amount of stadiums with that are like exclusive to only like certain bays and certain performance. Takara told me, their stadiums cater to certain formats or styles also, but everything they release is for their style of play for the WBBA. It's going to be for competitive purposes, just like the Dash Stadium. Like I didn't like that stadium at all, but it was still used in the WBBA, and if it was implemented here, I would get good at it. I would try to. And it's fun. I feel like to have those new innovations, and instead of trying the same combos in the same meta, yeah, we get new parts, but to change the whole style of play, like the way we play, I feel like that'd be a little bit more exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just no.
Go ahead.
It's just I kind of lost what I was gonna say. You're good. Just keep going.
No,
I
you good.
lost it.
Mike, did you have something?
Well, like that's the thing. Takara Tomy, they're not stupid. They know. Well, we got to keep the game fresh. So when they
Yeah.
come out with a new stadium and they're just like, use the stadium, guys, because it changes the dynamics of the game and makes it fun for a while. And then if you get bored of that, you can always go back to the previous thing because now that you haven't played it in a while, it's fun again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like being able to have that diversity, allowing you to play in different things, keeps like the energy going because it's like, okay, well, I'm bored playing the way I'm playing in this stadium. That stadium forces me to play different over there, so I'm just going to play in that stadium for a while.
Yeah. It keeps the game innovative, and I think we need that instead of like the stalemate that we do have sometimes over here because it is the WBO is, it's fan based and fan run, but we need to have those innovations and things like that to keep people, the older players engaged. Like the new players, they're going to come out and have fun regardless because it's a Beyblade tournament. But if they're active and want to keep coming back, we need to have those new innovations for that. That's how I feel about it. All right, we'll go on to the next question. It is keeps disappearing from me. All right. In tournaments, is only one type of stadium normally used, or can it be a variety of stadiums? His answer was at informal competitions, the stadium may change to suit the taste of the organizers. However, in most cases, DB stadiums have been adopted for official competitions. So, was that, or well, Mike, that was your question again to you. You want to explain like why?
Well, I was just pretty much curious as to whether or not the WBBA or if they over there playing more than one type of stadium at a time, because I do know I've watched videos where a tournament will be hosted and they play in all these different stadiums, but I've also watched ones where tournaments are played in only one stadium. So I was just curious as to how they work over there. I mean, he does say only in unofficial ones do they use a variety of stadiums through that whole tournament, but the one thing he never says is in only if like in official tournaments, could you potentially use other stadiums? He doesn't say anything about that. He just
Yeah.
says they use the DB Stadium for the most part.
Yeah. And my overall understanding with the WBBA, because I thought of more questions as he answered, but I didn't want to just flood his inbox with questions. I know different regions or different areas play differently. They still had that same like base rule set, but they play differently because I think is it the I don't think it's not called the Asian Games, but it is like the World Championship for the WBA, and it's held somewhere different every year. So I could see them using the DB Stadium because that's more than likely what's going to be used at that official tournament, like the World Tournament. Um, but at various events, like I wouldn't be surprised if they were changing it up, even at official ones. 100%. All right. So the next question you asked, what is your favorite burst system? Um, like Burst, God, Chozy, GT, Super King, or Dynamite Battle. And he said, I like DB now because I like strong bays. But if I choose from the past, I would choose the Chozy. Perfect Phoenix is my favorite bay when I entered the Asian Championship. And the Asian Championship is what I was mentioning before, like the world championship. So he was saying like he likes the DB Stadium. I mean the DB bays right now because they are what's strongest. You don't want to go into a competition like even today.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're playing classic or limited or something, you're gonna have the newest and up to date Beyblades. You're not gonna go back into the past.
Right.
Yeah, that one's pretty clear cut. I mean, I'm sure if I guess BU is the same as Dynamite Battle, but if they ever made something that was different and it was better, I'm sure that would be his favorite.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
100%. What is y'all's? I like Chozy and GT, but I I feel like I like Chozy the most, like he does. But GT is also because that's the era that I came in. I started playing in, and I really liked that meta. I felt like it was more GT. Well, it was the most balanced, right? Because we were talking about it, and it brought attack back.
Yeah, GT had like the most attack in it that I can think of. Original Burst had a decent bit of attack, but it was kind of held back because back then there wasn't dash drivers, so like the attackers kind of would self burst a lot,
Yeah, that's
but they were still viable. I didn't play too much of the God meta, so I don't know exactly.
Mhm.
I think attack was still fine because he had Twin Nemesis, Nightmare Longinus. That was pretty good. Um, I think I like the GT meta a lot though.
GT was probably your top.
Yeah, GT meta is like I played that one like a little bit, but it was pretty balanced. It felt like.
Chozy, did Chozy even have any like attack in it? I mean, I know it had Longinus in there, but how
Yeah,
valuable was
Dead
that?
Hades.
Oh
Dead Hades
yeah,
is probably one of the better attackers. Then there wasn't a lot.
yeah,
That Chozy was more stamina based because you had Hell Salamander, Archer Hercules, and Perfect Phoenix.
yeah. Perfect Phoenix. I remember that. It like changed the game. Archer Hercules was legit. I mean, that's the bait that got me interested in understanding what competitive Beyblading was, and led me down this rabbit hole. And then Hell Salamander was it was a really cool looking bait to me. On to his next. It says, I these are my questions. When playing in the DB Stadium, what drivers do you consider the best drivers? Oh no, this might be your question too, Mike. Is that this one's
I think
yours? Yeah,
yeah, I think I asked him a lot.
yeah. It was All right, let's start over. When playing in the DB Stadium, what drivers do you consider the best drivers for attack combos? Um, and his answer was, it's difficult to find an effective driver for an attack type, but I think that Extreme, which has been used a little, is an excellent attack driver even in DB. So with my take, you want to start it off first, Mike?
No,
This
you
was
can.
yours.
That's fine.
With my take on this, it was 100% what everyone is saying, and I even agree with that. The argument is not like, oh, we can't use attack, or the argument isn't like, oh, attack is fine or anything like that. Like, no, the DB Stadium is stamina based. I mean, it's big. It has the double ridges, and even like we talked with Arca Paul. By the time this recording comes out, You all should have heard Arcus from last week. There's methods to that madness, but the thing about it is we have to find those methods. And it was unique to me that he mentioned extreme because that's like the top rubber flat right now, even here in the standard stadium. And I would be curious to see like him launch it or him play. That's another thing. Like his style is insane. That's a question that that's a question that we should have asked. It looks like he's gonna break his ripcord every time he does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could take it away, Mike, and put on your thoughts.
I mean, like, I asked him that just because I was really curious as to what drivers that they use over there for attack in the DB Stadium,
Mm-hmm.
and I was honestly shocked that he said extreme because I've tested out extreme in it and I didn't feel like it was that good in it, but at the same time, I didn't test with it long enough either. These guys here, they mostly play in the stadium, so I'm sure they have figured out the proper way to launch it in that stadium.
Yeah, especially when you go against like competitions, like how other people are playing in it too. Because I feel like that has a factor. If someone's launching like beside a pocket or away from a pocket or what they're tilting to get the angles that they want, like that helps also, I feel like.
Has anyone ever looked in his Instagram to see the orientation of the stadium when they
I
do
was
it?
literally doing that.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
look at that.
yeah, it's the way that I have it because that's where I got it from.
Angled.
Yeah,
Angled? I thought so. I thought it was angled.
yeah. It's like the corners are on the corners of the box. They're not like side to side. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I got that from him. That's why I did in the original circuit when we were playing in the DB Stadium, and even when I went up there, I had it how they had it because I was like, I mean, it was all new to us, so I was like,
They always have the pocket to the left too.
oh,
The pocket's always to their left. It's never to their right.
oh, okay, okay. I don't think I noticed that or paid attention to that. I can see that being effective. But yeah, like you, I'm curious to see like how good Extreme would be because I'm not gonna lie, unless I like at a tournament and I actually see it, I don't know how effective it is. But he still said that attack isn't all that valuable. It's just if you did do it, extreme is the way.
That's the best way.
Yeah, just to go, I guess, go hard or go home. Did you have anything on that, Geezer?
I guess it's interesting because like when I tried using it, I couldn't get it to work either.
Yeah.
But I guess I mean they've definitely spent more time than all of us over here have, and I'm sure if we had like more than just a few of us playing in that stadium or trying stuff out in that stadium more, I'm sure something would get figured out, whether it be extreme or any kind of other driver. Because I'm sure, especially if like KOs ever get made to be 2 points here,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there'd be a lot more incentive for people to even try to begin with.
Yeah. 2-point KOs will be a lot more beneficial. I could see why they're may have been taken away, especially from the size of the base now. And standard, it's kind of like you get a good sniper, and then it's easy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's easy. The problem with attack in this DB stadium, though, which I'm sure y'all ran into, because whenever I try to test a track job, is it just gets stuck on that first ridge and just circles around.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always get stuck on the flatter part of the stadium, and they just sit there.
Yeah.
They don't actually go anywhere.
They don't dive down. It's like you either.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, because when I launch it hard, it still goes up there and gets stuck. And when I launch it soft, it feel like it's not hard enough to.
I honestly feel like just their way of doing it is they launch in as hard as they can and they hope that they just hit in the center, knock the other bay up onto the ridge, and then by the time they get up in the ridge and they spin around it, they just knock them into the pocket.
Yeah. If you're up on that ridge, it is nerve wracking, especially with both bays. Because if you're on the outside, the pocket is big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pocket is huge, and if you get hit or tilted over in any way, you're going straight down. There's no back wall bounce. There's none of that. It's like you're going in. All right. On to my next question. I think this one's mine. Oh no, it's still yours, Mike. Is there a ranking system for bladers in Japan? And he said, as you may know, there used to be a point ranking for official competitions. However, the service has ended and there is no ranking. I guess I should have asked him to iterate on that more, but pretty much there isn't one because I would have wanted to know like how it was in the past.
I'm trying to remember. This is like from forever ago because it might have been through that app that they used to use.
Yeah, it was through the app and the Bayloggers.
So what did they just when they would go to tournaments, it would get put into their app?
Yeah, I would assume so. I don't know enough about like how the Baylogger worked because I was never really doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think it just accumulated points.
accumulate points over time. I know they have to have some type of thing because there's only a select few chosen for the World Championship or the Asian Championship. So they have to stay on top of that in some way, and it's not just Japan. It's like all of Asia.
All of Asia.
All of Asia's over there doing their thing. Yeah, but I think now I know with COVID, once COVID hit, like everything kind of like really died down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, COVID was probably one of the reasons why they probably decided to take it out because they knew they weren't going to have Beyblade lasting long enough anymore afterwards.
Possibly.
So then there was probably just not a reason to have the ranking going where it's not going to be used for like the next 5 or 2.5 years. So
I know. Actually, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I doubt it since he's saying all this and they got rid of the ranking. They're probably not having a championship this year. But who knows? Only I mean, they would know, but Takara told me would know, but I have no clue. I don't know what they're doing or hosting anything big. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh just came back, and I think Pokemon is still stalled out because of COVID. So
yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh is definitely back now.
Yeah. All right. With the next one, how did you get involved in competitive Beyblade battles? And he said, when Lost Longinus was released 5 years ago, I learned that there was an official tournament at Toys R Us in my neighborhood. Of course, I lost the first round, but it's a good memory. So I guess that's when he first got started. I think, like many of us, we didn't just getting into it. Probably didn't know as much. But what was Longinus? Was that
That's
Lost Dual Layer?
Yeah.
All right. Did you play then, Gieser?
There was like I played a little bit. I didn't play too much during then though. That was kind of like before I took the break from the game.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Shendog, or a conversation like we had with Shendog when he was talking about the when you're looking up combos and stuff like that, and that Lost Longinus combo was like on all the top 10 when I first started getting into Beyblade. That was it. It was like you need to get Lost Longinus or Nightmare or whatever they're called. And that's what I was looking for. Mind you, we were in the GT era, so those things were highly outclassed. But those were on the top 10, so that's what I was trying to find, which eventually led me to Takara Tomy, so it was all good, regardless.
Did the Hasbro Lost Longinus have metal on it?
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
Just going off of how they do everything else, I'd assume no, but I'm not the person to ask.
Cho, yeah, I have no clue. I have no clue with that. So that's how he got started into it. And shout out to Toys R Us. I miss Toys R Us, man.
I mean, it's gone here, but it's alive everywhere else.
Yeah. It's sad. Like we don't have it. Like they have it, but it's unfortunate. So my next question was, what is your greatest accomplishment in competitive Beyblade tournaments? I think I don't know whose are whose. So I'm gonna stop saying whose they are. We'll just go off the questions. And his answer was he was selected as one of the 2 Japanese national bladers in 2019. Participated in the Asian Championship held in South Korea and advanced to the final tournament. Lost in the best 8. So I'm thinking he lost in the top 8.
Top 8.
Yeah.
Top 8.
Our finals. But that's still a great feat. you know, because I was listening, like I said, to TSO and Wombats podcast, and they had an interview with some WBBA players. So, and they were from Singapore, Malaysia, and one other place. So it's not just Japan that is playing. It's all of Asia, like we said. So you're playing with kids. I think the age limit is 13, but you're going against all these kids in the world, and I don't know how many make it there, but you're still competing against all those kids even before you get there.
Yeah.
And then to make it into the top 8 is dope. Yeah.
I mean, you had to do well at like multiple different events to get there. It seems like.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have to get through some kind of tournament to be selected to begin with, and then you also had to play in the other one.
Mm-hmm. And there was only 2 of them. I can only imagine like how many bladers, because that's another thing they're mentioning too. And like we talk with Kay, like parents are involved and they want their kids to play. You know, they want their kids to go to the championship. So that level of competition, like on the national level, and only 2 people got selected, like that's wild. You know, and he was one of them. So you know he's legit. Like I said, like if you're able to follow him, watch his videos, like it's pretty dope. It's pretty wild to see him launch. It's pretty wild to see him compete.
I just like when he does the 360 no scope on his launching.
Yeah.
That's always my favorite.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. All right. Next question. How is the WBBA structured in Japan? Is there a national tournament or do you all only play at local events? I guess I should have asked this first. WBO has not been very active since the virus spread. There is no prospect of resuming the G3 or higher tournament. Currently, G4 tournaments held at each store and remote burst cups held remotely are held irregularly. Did y'all know about like G1 through G4?
I have no idea what that
I have
means.
no clue.
All right, so he answered this to me because I had no clue what it was when he mentioned it. So like G4 is what is at local stores. So it's like you're walking down the street and you got your local hobby shop and they having a WBA event, to where I imagine they still accumulated points. Like these happen like weekly. And then G3 happens. I can't give examples of each one, but just pretty much know like G4 is the common everyday hobby shop.
So it's the next tier up. Like
Mm-hmm.
basically G2 is probably more like a regional level,
Yep.
and G1's like national level.
Yep, 100%. And that's how it's ran. And he said, I think in his answer, he said, yeah, G4 tournaments are held at each store, and remote burst cups held remotely are held irregularly. So he's like, there's no G3 or higher since COVID came out. I guess they're not doing any big events, but people are still playing Beyblade, just informally.
Right.
Yeah, or possibly formally, just for like the locals. Nothing on a national or continental scale.
Right, because they're not trying to have that many people congregate in one place.
Yeah, because I know Japan is still like locked down, kind of like you have to have.
So my guess would be, if you looked at it Yu-Gi-Oh wise, you have G4 is locals, G3 is like regional, and then like G2 is YCS,
and
then
Nats.
G1 is nationals.
Mm-hmm. And then the champion. What's YCS?
YCS is like an in between. It's bigger than a regional, but not as big as like a world championship qualifier.
Okay. How often are those held?
Like once every couple months.
Okay. Solid.
They're not like invite or anything. Anyone can go.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's pretty dope, then. At least like everyone can get in there. Does it, if you win, does it give you anything to like nationals or no?
I mean, you can still get your invite that way. I haven't like looked into the pricing, and the pricing is definitely bigger than like a regional.
Yeah, well, YCSs are basically just bigger regionals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like most regionals like are probably around anywhere between 200-300 people. I mean, except Philly. Philly I know is like an 800 person regional all the time.
Philly's been pulling crazy numbers.
But YCSs are normally like your anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 people. Like, I think Philly's just always the biggest regional because of the tri-state area it's in.
Yeah. Philly's pretty active area for gaming in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's it's insane. Like, I guess, well, not insane, but they just have a lot of stuff going on, or a lot of like competitive gaming scene in that area. Also, as real as wrestlers on the sport level. Um, but yeah, I asked him about him, and it was interesting to see because I seen him talk about it before. Because he mentioned something about five. Well, he was talking about 5G, and then he was like a G4 or a G3 event, and someone had asked in the comments, and I still did not understand what he was talking about. And so it's the level of not the level of competition, but the level of scale of the event, like high class or whatever, versus something that's like common or whatever, something like that. All right. Y'all go for the next question. Did you have anything else to say on this one?
No, go ahead.
No.
All right. So, what are the popular styles of competitive play? Out of attack, stamina, and defense Beyblades. What style is the most popular? And he still goes on with the DB Stadium. He's like, since the DB Stadium is the mainstream stamina type is inevitably popular. I'm originally a stamina type at other stadiums, so that's pretty much what he used. And Mike, do you have that full question? Because I don't have the rest of that answer.
Which one was it?
That is what are the popular styles of competitive play out of attack, stamina, and defense Beyblades? Which style is the most popular?
Let me see. I think I have him here somewhere.
That was the end of his answer. What I had.
Right.
Yeah, it just pretty much said since DB is the mainstream, stamina type is inevitably popular, and he's originally a stamina type a player at it within all stadiums, which is interesting to me because he doesn't look like he's launching a stamina style Beyblades. But if that's what he's using, that's what he's using. But they all launch different. I think it goes back to what you said, like even in your interview, Geester, um, or one of the questions that I had, like the WBO or any of these rule sets don't determine like how we all choose to play. Like
Yeah.
us soft launching and just launching the way that we do. I mean, that's our choice. That's our culture of play. Theirs is quite different. Probably if we go in soft launch and stuff like that, like we might get yeeted right out of the stadium. It may not work the same way it does over here.
His answer just ends there. I'm pretty sure he's just pretty much saying that even though they're in the DB Stadium now and stamina is the mainstream for it, even when playing in the other stadiums, he enjoyed playing stamina.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying.
Yeah. The stamina is still effective. I mean, I know we give it a
Stamina will always be effective.
Yeah. It's
like when you really think about it, ancient China and they're throwing these wooden tops. They were seeing who lasted longer, not who was hitting each other and knocking each other out. Most likely, they were just seeing who had more stamina.
yeah, spinning tops of this whole game or however it started. Well, that's all it was about, man. It was just about it was stamina. We were able
Jared
to.
knows all about the ancient spinning
Oh my
tops.
goodness.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't know anything about Baygoma though, but I know that's where Beyblade really comes from.
Yeah,
From where?
Baygoma.
It's like this it's like this older Japanese style of like spinning top that like they wrap the string around them and they make them on their own and stuff. They like throw them into like a kind of like a dish kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and they're basically Beyblades. They fight against each other. That's like where the whole thing came from.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I've heard of this. I knew of this.
I would say I'm sure you've seen it. There's no way you haven't seen it if you're around Beyblades.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen that. Yeah, and the concept just evolved over time, and it's still yet evolving. We just call them Beyblades now. All right, on to the next. Let's see.
I think it's only one left, isn't it?
You said what?
I think it's only one left, isn't it?
It is. And then we could just get into a discussion. All right, what are one or two of the current best Beyblade combos in your opinion? And he says, Mike, you want to do this? Because I think this was was this
Yeah.
yours? Yeah, you go. You go ahead. You go
I,
ahead.
I don't I don't know. So his answer to that was World Diabolos over Drift 1S or Dynamite Perseus over Bearing Dash 0 first gear, which would be F gear. He says I chose the above two if it is a rule that can be advantageous in battle by mode change. So, what was this? Yeah. So that's, I mean, honestly, those two combos are pretty well given. Like they're even some of the best combos over here.
Yep. I mean,
Like
it doesn't even matter the format. Like those combos are just good.
yeah. Like luckily over there they can mode change to like spin direction changing and stuff. So
Yeah, I mean the spin direction thing is mainly why World doesn't see any play here or not as much.
no.
Yeah,
Because it's like one advantage over a lot of the DB stuff now.
Yeah.
the spin direction.
Yeah, because it's not heavy enough to compete against anything here, and it's never going to be anything in Simpson really.
No. No, not on that combo. Um but then like speaking of that, like I'm looking at his Instagram here and I'm seeing his post from looks like when he got runner up his 5G deck from a runner up deck at a DB stadium. And his combos for that 5G deck was World Diabolos, Tapered, Metal Drift 1S, Guilty Longinus, Legacy, Zone Dash plus Z 9, Dynamite Perseus over Bearing Dash 0 F Gear, Vanish Fafnir, Giga Drift 2, and then Roar Bahamut, Nexus, Mobius 10 S Gear.
Hmm.
So that's a lot of like that's basically like having 3 drifts in your deck right there.
Yeah,
It's 3 like opposite spin like devoted combos. Though I don't know how well his drift likes to sit because that vanish combo is probably pretty good if it can.
Yeah.
yeah. I know Mobius is used more over like internationally than it is used here. Like it's used here, but I don't see a lot of players use it, and I feel like it has a lot of potential. I don't know if it needs to be awakened. I don't like using it because it likes to wig out on me. Either that or end up self bursting. Um, but I think it's. I still feel like it's a legit combo. I remember watching Papa Bay his videos, and it was one of his top,
Mm-hmm.
like one of his top drivers in his 5G deck. Do y'all use it?
I've used Mobius before, especially with
I've
Prominent.
never really used it, but like when we did have the driver variant rule in, like everyone was using unprominence. The combo was crazy. I definitely think you have to wear your Mobius a little bit. It can't be like pointed because it's gonna fall over more often than not.
Yeah, it has to be slightly worn.
Does it behave like drift in opposite spin when it is worn?
Yes,
It does.
pretty much.
Yep.
As long as it doesn't tip over, it's gonna like win most of the time.
Like that's the thing. It and Drift are pretty much exactly the same except it's taller, but when you get into the very end, you have a higher chance at falling over where Drift doesn't have that chance.
Yeah, because drift just sits so low. It's like it's just gonna get everything. So when the other Beyblade does fall over, like drift is still just doing its thing.
Especially if you use it with Giga because Giga just is so bottom heavy.
Yeah, it is.
Like it just gives it all the weight to stay up.
Yeah, I know. Oh, this is on to another topic. Um, the new y'all don't have it yet, but from what you've seen from the videos, or what do y'all think? Do y'all think that this Devon Bilal is gonna be legit or not?
Not really.
From the videos I've seen, it doesn't look like it. I granted, I can say this much here. I have seen an image going around that shows that the A gear will probably only work with Divine and not work with the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of hoping that since F Gear makes Dynamite and what
Devil.
is it, Dynamite and Devil so good, maybe the A Gear will make Divine actually good for like attack or something. Like, because right now it's not good for stamina from what I've been seeing, but I'd rather see it get the upgrade and become a good right spin attack layer rather than be another good right spin stamina layer.
Where does the where does the where does the A gear go?
On the layer.
Oh, on the is in place of the F gear or
In place of the F gear,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, instead of F gear.
okay. All right. Does it stick out more? Is it rubber? I haven't seen it.
We haven't
We
gotten
don't
it
know.
revealed yet.
All we've had revealed is like a silhouette of it, and that it's called the A gear,
Yeah.
meaning it'll come from Achilles.
Okay. Yeah, I have Divine. I unboxed it yesterday. It sits it or it's really high. It's a really high Beyblade. It's like
Yeah,
it's really awkward. It looks like it needs gears. Kind of like how um the regular was Dynamite, and it
yeah,
was
Dynamite.
just like really light and it just seemed like didn't even seem like it's a Takara Beyblade because it was just plastic pretty much.
yeah.
But then when you get all the gears on it, it's like really legit. That's how Divine like kind of comes out of the box. Like it's thick. It's like Hercure, but it doesn't really look too effective. But if it was, I wouldn't use it for stamina. I think it would be better to use that attack if you launch that at an angle because the slopes on it are really high. They're just oh no, y'all see it when you get it. It's just like kind of awkward. But
Yeah.
yeah, because they don't like flare out how like the Longinus layers do, but they do like Guilty or any of the older ones like Rage or anything like that. They just go straight up. It's like imagine if you had um what is it, Prominence, but it just had some slopes at the top of it, which kind of is good, but it's kind of not because you need to angle it like perfectly for it to get underneath the other Beyblade, and it kind of has to stay there because once it sits up, it's not doing anything.
I I am mostly interested in Adventure,
Oh yeah,
the
that driver.
driver.
Now
Yeah.
I haven't launched it yet, but that is cool because the biggest difference is those two little rubber pieces, right?
Yeah, they're spring loaded and they actually touch the ground like with the tip. But then if you put the V gear on it, it locks them inside of it, so there's no more rubber to the tip.
That kind of sucks.
It depends.
It depends.
What y'all think about it?
I I personally um I have to have it in my hands and really test it out, but I'm hoping that it's a better version of regular Venture to where like got a little more attack oomph to it,
Hmm.
and you don't get stuck with like losing stamina to the rubber hitting on the ridge.
Hmm.
So we'll see.
What you?
I've had issues with Venture, like catching the ridge like that when I don't want it to, and like
Yeah,
it'll throw itself out and stuff like that sometimes.
Mm. Do you think?
So hopefully that problem's gone with
Adventure.
Adventure when you use the V gear.
Yeah, I think I haven't. The V gear is the part that goes on the bottom.
Yeah, it's
Have
the
y'all
metal
Yeah.
gear.
have y'all had success with it or seen anybody with a tournament has success? I've seen like Perfect Belial do well at events, but like when it goes up against like meta combos and stuff like that, it doesn't do as well. It may get some KOs, but I don't think they're going for the well, they might be going for the KOs because they do yeet it in there and it's heavy. It's super heavy. Um, but have y'all seen it be successful?
I mean,
I've used it at Blader's Kingdom
yeah,
on attack stuff.
we've used it at Blader's Kingdom.
Okay. Would y'all
I like it for the DB Stadium, but like some of the other ones, I'm not as sure.
Yeah.
Like standard stadium, it's like it's just not as good as using a regular rubber flat or something like that.
Right. Yeah. But like that's why we use the Venture plus V in Blader's Kingdom because you're not always playing in the standard or the Pro Series stadium, and all these other stadiums just don't have the same type of ridges or pockets and stuff like that. So we use them to be a little more safer, but it still hits hard. Like it doesn't hit fast, but it hits harder than like extreme.
It hits harder than extreme does.
I mean, yeah, because it's all weight.
Oh yeah. You're right. You're right.
So
It's
when the
heavier.
Yeah, so like when the Beyblade like goes in, like the hits are super hard, but it's just you can't you can't get it to go in fast enough to back it up with that speed to hit stuff out. So like you kind of rely more on the recoil and hoping that like it hits it into a wall. Like you rely more on the smash attack, and you kind of hope it hits it into the wall, and then unlike extreme, it'll have a lot more stamina in the end game, and you just win by the stamina finish.
Okay. Yeah, that
It's
does
just
make
helpful
sense.
for like all those weird Hasbro stadiums that don't have pockets or anything, and you still have to use like something.
Right.
Well, that's good with the innovation. At least like y'all figure that out because I don't, I don't use it. I don't use any of the gears except for F gear. But I have seen L gear. L gear is pretty nice. LJ Blader was using it at I think he had it was L gear um on either Devil Perseus or Dynamite Perseus, and whenever he would pull it out, like I didn't realize or recognize that L gear was there, so it was in high mode. But that combo does really well. Like I couldn't beat it with my Dynamite Perseus.
What was the rest of the combo?
It was I think he had bearing and I can't remember if he had Giga. I'm pretty sure he had Giga instead of over. Um did he have Giga? I'll have to go back and look. But the combo did really well. I was only able to beat it in opposite spin with my Vanish. I know I had Vanish Longinus with I know it was on Extend Plus, High Extend Plus. I think the armor I had was 0 and it was over. So that's the only way I was able to beat it. And I would do opposite spin in defense mode.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was pretty legit because high or low mode, I I wasn't able to beat it. And I think that's mainly just because the L gear is just so heavy. So as long as you had
Yeah.
a good launch, I guess you would try to tilt it over or anything like that, but it just wasn't working for me. My Beyblade wasn't heavy enough in same spin. Maybe Prominence would have worked, but I don't have or use Prominence.
I doubt it.
No,
Prominence is not good in
no,
same
Same
Prominence
spin?
is not good in save spin.
It's not. Yeah.
No, not really.
I've seen there was a combo. I don't know if it was because the opponent launched too soft or what, but there was a kid and he's here in North Carolina. It's actually in one of Frost's videos. He had Prominence, and it was Giga and Drift. And he won some same spin matches with that combo.
That's wild.
That was wild. Yeah.
So I mean, maybe if the armor came off and you had a good drift.
Yeah. I think his drift was just pretty solid because I don't think the armor came off at all. But then like within the next match, I think his opponent like launched he definitely launched different and then he got the win. But it was still wild and incredible to see. Because I think he was going against, the Dynamite Perseus combo. I believe so anyway. Geezer, this is a question my wife had. Where'd you get your name from?
Mine, it's like a play off my my Chinese name.
Okay.
So
What is
like
your Chinese
my
name?
Chinese name is Mun Geet, so it's the last half of it.
Okay. Do you know what Geester means?
I wouldn't know. I'd have to ask my grandmother. She was the one that gave it to me.
My wife looked it up. It means like gangster, like OG. I don't know if that's like
I
what
don't
your
think
grandma
that's
would
it.
tell you, but that's what my wife found because she was curious. Like a lot of people wonder like where everybody got their names from. And I guess we could discuss ours now, but it's cool to know that you got yours just from your traditional name. My wife was looking it up and to
Yeah.
see like, oh, is that what he got from Crisis? I know where
No,
your
mine
name came from, but you want
Mine came from a Dragon Ball Super card.
yeah, Dragon Ball Super card, and I never explained this, but I have 2 accounts on the WBO. Stay Cool, my organizer account. That's the one I mainly talk on, and I host the events because it's the one I can organize on. And that was just my original account, and it's pretty much my gamer tag. And most all the games I play, just like Stay Cool, because people get really tilted. I play League of Legends, and
Yeah.
my name was just there to be like, hey man, like calm down, like stop freaking out. And then but my son played on this account. So when I went to my first WBO tournament, I wanted to have my own account. So I did just FG Miriam. FG is the 4 gaming, and Meruem is from Hunter x Hunter, my favorite anime. And that's my favorite character, my favorite anime character. If you don't know him, check him out. Um, but yeah, man. Are there any other topics of discussion? I know this time around, like we don't have anybody to interview, so it's a little bit different.
Let me go back through the questions real quick.
Yeah.
Just
Overall,
to
I
make
think
sure.
like the WBBA, I think it's the structure that they have that keeps it fun, just like the WBO is structured. But the fact that the company is backing it makes it like
Yeah,
so much
that's a
more
thing that
involved
we
and
don't have
interesting.
here.
Yeah,
We don't have that here at all because Hasbro is not very involved with tournaments anymore.
yeah.
No.
Were they ever like
Hasbro-
I know they've
really
done a few.
involved?
They've done a few like random tournaments for like every series, but it's never been like hardcore, different levels of play and all that stuff for Hasbro.
Yeah, like all I've seen is they'll have like a world championship, but it's like,
They have a world championship and some qualifiers for it, and that's about it.
okay, I didn't even know they had qualifiers. I just thought it was like, hey, world
They'll have
championship.
qualifiers. It's kind of weird. Like they've done like the random promotional Toys R Us tournaments or like some of the, I know they did it for Metal Fight. I don't know if they did it for
And then everyone that shows up at them
Burst.
have Takara Tomy products, so it don't matter.
Yeah, that happened for the World Championships for Metal Fight in like 2012.
Okay, so you can
Even
use Takara Tomy at the
yeah, well
Hasbro.
they had players from Japan and like Asian countries that had like the newer stuff. But like even the players that were representing like the US and Canada and all that stuff, they were also using this stuff from Takara because it's just better because it was further ahead.
Yeah,
Which I think is hilarious.
I can see them. Like I'm not gonna. Well, for one, we're too old because they still have 13 and under too,
13 and
right?
under, yeah.
Yeah, like we're too old. But even still, like I thought of it like I don't want to do a Hasbro tournament and they're only playing with Hasbro parts because even
But now they have Pro Series.
yeah, they do have Pro Series, which is pretty dope. Um, but it's still like, it's like if you lose to that, I would just have it in the back of my head, like, or I don't know, even if I guess if I win with that, if everybody's still playing it, it's like okay, but then if you lose to it, it's like you
Well, I
lose
mean,
that.
what I would rather just see is I would rather just see Hasbro completely not change the way the bays are and just completely transition over to the same thing as Takara Tomy, and then just have tournaments, but just tell them, look, you like have official tournaments, but be like, look, if these are Hasbro official tournaments, you can only use stuff that is up to what has been released in the States. Anything after words that Takara Tomy has, you can't use in these official tournaments.
Yeah. I guess it would be fun too, especially for the fact that we have Pro Series and we could possibly mix the Hasbro parts with that. Because I don't know if they would like not allow that. Because some of the
No,
drivers.
they say on the instructions for Pro Series not to mix them.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
So
Well,
that's one of the other things that when you think about too, though, with like how Mike Nightwing wanted to integrate allowing Hasbro and Takara Tomy stuff mixed. When you really think about it, even Hasbro, which has now made the Pro Series, which is just like the Takara Tomy, they're telling you don't mix them together because you can break them.
yeah, yeah,
So that's why I'll never do it. Like some people I know will. Like maybe if I wanted to use a Hasbro driver, I'll use it on a Bahamut chip core
yeah,
because it's already slope based.
yeah. My thing is, I don't want to use any of Hasbro's drivers with Takara Tomy like layers. I want to use Hasbro's layers with Takara Tomy like parts, like drivers and disc. Well, the disc are pretty much the same, but I want to use them with the
This you
driver.
can mix, and there's no issue.
Yeah, but I want to have a bearing and a drift, like just putting drift on some of those layers. I feel like I know weight is good in a lot of cases, but sometimes like the lighter weight, because you think about it, like if it's heavier, you're trying to push it, it may not go as far, but if it's like light and you tap it, it's gonna spin. You know, like you don't even have to do it hard. Um, and I think about that sometimes, but I understand. But yeah, if Hasbro, I don't. I don't know because I know I would definitely get my kids into it and get them heavily involved in it. Shoot, I would run some tournaments for Hasbro if that was what they were doing. I just always thought like whatever they had was only Hasbro only, and it was so few and far between. And I really don't know why they don't do it here because, like we've mentioned several times before, people buy Beyblades. People still play with Beyblades, young and old. You know, it's gone 20 plus years. So all of us, and we teach our kids and get them involved and teach younger players and the WBO in its entirety. Like people would get out and definitely play, and to have that backing from the main corporation would be huge. You know, huge, especially with the amount of organizers that we have with the WBO. I don't think anybody would be like, no, forget that. If Hasbro reached out to us and was like, hey, do you mind hosting in your local area for regional qualifier or something like that? Like I would even do it even like I don't even have to play. It's just about the fact of growing the community or growing the awareness for Beyblade. I'd be all for it.
I think you're like the outlier in that because most of the organizers would say no because they want to play as well. They wouldn't be
Yeah,
allowed to.
yeah. I think in the
Especially, I think
WBBA you can't play if you're judging. Also,
No, you can't.
no.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's more like a thing that here that doesn't happen there.
Well, we don't have a choice because the only
Yeah,
people that
we
are,
don't have a choice.
yeah, the people that are organizing, like nobody is like with Yu-Gi-Oh. People, how do those judges work? You have to get like licensed, don't you?
You have to do a test and stuff like that to be a judge. You have to be able to like you have a test just for like card interactions and stuff like that, and another one just over the penalty guidelines, and it'll be like, say X person does this, what's the penalty you should give out, and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
you have to pass both of those tests to be a certified judge, and you still can only judge like regionals at the most.
Yeah,
In order to judge like higher tier events, you have to do more stuff.
yeah.
I mean, I'm certified, but I've never done it at more than like a local.
I've done a regional.
You
I
have?
know you have.
Yeah, I've done regionals.
Can you play or no?
Nope.
No, when I'm judging,
Well,
I
you have to
cannot.
be present at the because when you're a judge at a like a card game event, you're like constantly just walking around the room waiting for like a match to call you over.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and
you can't be playing.
it's a lot different than like Beyblade, because you're one at a judge at an event. You have everyone playing at once, and people aren't calling you over to judge to like look and see the outcome of the match. They're calling you over to make sure the game state of their match is correct.
Okay.
So like, someone calls you over because their opponent activated a card, they chained a card, and then the other person chained a card, but in reality the other person isn't able to chain that card because it missed timing to be able to do so
Okay.
or something. So you have to then go through and explain those steps to them and how things interact, and you know then next thing you know, you get another call over and you got to go over and do that one, and it's just constant moving and brain rattling, and by the end of the day you've contemplated your life choices.
Mm. I got another. Well, I'm gonna say something on this judging thing one more time, and then I have another topic of discussion. Um, yeah, with here, like we are so self-reliant that there's no way. Yeah, it's like you said, Geester. There's no way that a lot of organizers will want to do an event that they weren't able to play in because they're so heavily involved. I mean, I think the reason why all of us or one of the driving forces behind us come in organizers is so we could play and we didn't have to wait on somebody else, to get an event going. And then we just asked the participants to judge, which I know from the outside looking in, that might be like, oh man, how the judges aren't cheating? But it doesn't. That stuff doesn't happen. You'd have to really be pinpointing things to try to like make sure certain players were eliminated and stuff like that, so that you could have an easier finals. But even then, it's like weird. You'll probably get a. There's no probably about it. You would get a bad reputation, and you won't be judging anymore if you're just calling terrible matches. Um, so we do have to rely on ourselves. But if Hasbro did do it, I feel like they would have some format of like that. Like, hey, these are specific judges. You have to qualify by doing this. Because if I was scheduled to organize an event like this week and I have to judge this week, and there's another organizer, it's like, cool, like, here, you play this week, you have your fun, and then next week I'll get to play, if things work like that. But I feel like the only way that could happen is with the big corporation doing it, because then it's driving more people to play, and then parents would possibly be like, hey, I want my kid to go to the championship. But there's no telling, because our culture is way different. Like,
It's completely different.
yeah, parents don't even. Some of them, I think it's changing. Like, some of them are into letting their kids play video games and do it competitively, as well as Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff. But it's not. It's like more few and far between. Um, did y'all have anything else on that or no?
No. I don't
Yeah.
have anything else. I don't know about Mike, but
Yeah.
Nah, I'm good.
My next thing was Frost's video, his last video about the play team, and I guess I wanted to ask, because he mainly talked about the stadiums, but something else that he brought up to me, and I think I asked you this already, Mike, was the recording of matches. Like, it's a hit or miss for me, man. Did we talk about this with Arca?
No, I don't think we did.
Okay, because I didn't want to like revisit this topic if we did. But it's
I mean, it's an important topic, so
yeah,
then we get Geese's opinion in here too. So
yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, I guess I'll go first, especially Geese, if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's like, I feel like when it comes to recording matches, I feel like it's needed, because you'll get people or parents or whatever that are like super angry, or players, if they're not able to watch the replay and they felt like they won. But then at the same time, it definitely stalls the length of the tournament. And then some people are like doing way too much with recording, to where they're doing it in slow-mo, like on a whole nother level. And you can't even tell like if the Beyblade is still moving or not, because everything is still moving in slow-mo.
yeah,
And it's tough. It's tough to make that call, and you watch it in real time, and it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, after you watch it like 10 or 15 times, you still don't know. You're like, well, God, it looked this way to me in the beginning, but now it looks completely different. I don't have a verdict on whether I'm for or against it. I will say that um I am for like just getting rid of phones. But then with the way the WBO rules are, with that back wall rule, that's the main reason
yeah,
why I want to see that phone, because that happens instantly, and it happens usually in the beginning of the match.
yep.
And yeah,
That's
yep.
kind of where I stand on it right now, where it's like it's on the way things are ruled right now between like spinning definition and the back wall KOs. It's like the only reason why I'd want to keep the phones around, because they do bog down like tournament time and how long each round comes like through for like Swiss, because then you get the people, well, when do I get to play next? Well, you get to play next whenever this 15-minute drift mirror is decided. Like, it's pretty awful.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like that stuff, it's like it's bad both ways, because like telling someone, especially when they're newer, yeah, you lost because he turned a millimeter more than you on this slow-mo camera, when by your eye
yeah,
it looked like it was a tie. Like, stuff like that is like why I'd be more for keeping it around. But at the same time, it's like when you're sitting there and watching a match, it's terrible for everybody involved.
yeah,
It's awful on the judge sitting there watching it. It's awful for the players that are stuck watching the same mirror constantly, because, well, you're stuck on these two combos. You're not going to be able to switch off of them. This is really an issue for like deck format, because
There's
like
no draw
there's
rule
no
or
tie
anything.
procedure or anything like that with that format. So you're actually stuck playing this drift mirror. I mean, me and Alan had that problem at that Virginia tournament. Like, I was bored by the end of that. I was like just done. Like I kind of threw at the end because I just wanted it to be over.
Yeah, I can see that. I can now that you did. Well, go ahead, Mike. I don't want to take your time.
I mean, so I would be more inclined to say I'd rather not see cameras, but then I think about one main thing that's gonna honestly be the biggest issue. The parents they're filming.
Yeah,
Because even
yeah,
if the judge isn't filming, the parents are gonna film, and you're gonna get some parents who are gonna be like, "No, I have it right here. My kid won."
yeah,
So then you're gonna get into arguments and stuff like that, and then what do you do when someone wants to contest what the judge rule? Well, then they got to go through all this stuff, and then WBO staff has to get involved and find out if they have to void a match and all this, and it's a lot. But I can say if the spinning definition changed to something more simpler like the WBBA's, even using the camera would speed things up just fine.
yeah,
Because the cameras are mostly used right now to determine, okay, at this moment in time, your Beyblade technically stopped spinning and is now rolling, turning, no scoping, like whatever it is that's going on, like doing a backflip.
yeah,
Like that's what they have to look for, and that's what makes things so complicated because you're looking at something, you're like, I would just call that spinning, but I have to look to see if I have to call this something else.
yeah,
Like that's what you're looking for when you're looking at the slow-mos. You're not looking as to whether something is spinning anymore or not. Like I'll put air quotes around spinning. You're looking to see if you have to use a different terminology for what it's doing.
yeah. But to me, it's like that doesn't. It's when I watch slow mo, it's always spinning. I can't tell
Right.
in slow mo when it starts to like tilt over or rolling or whatever. Like I can't tell in slow mo. Like if I watch it in real time, I can kind of see, but then that's hard to explain to that little kid. You know what I'm saying? To be and definitely the parent. They're like, no. And when you think about it, it's like what what is the definition of rolling? Because we have spinning. We don't have it. Do we have a definition for rolling?
I don't even. It's that even. I don't think anything of those other terms are even in the rule book. I think it's just
No.
stuff that people have made up over time to just try to make an easier like explanation or
Hmm.
like just simplify explanations for people because it takes too long to explain. Yeah, you stopped spinning, and at this point your Beyblade started to go down the slope of the stadium, but by then it was already done.
Yeah.
Instead, you just say it turned and rolled.
But even
It's a lot.
yeah, go ahead.
It's a lot faster to just say it turned and rolled than it stopped at the top of the stadium, turned around for 180, and then rolled down because of gravity and stuff like that. Because it's the same thing.
Yeah,
Saying
yeah,
that or just saying it turned and rolled is the same thing. It's just quicker.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's that's my thing with it. Like even it like if they change the spinning rule, cameras are still going to be fine to record because one, you'll record for KOs, but then when you have to double check something, if we had like the WBBA's definition, you're just seeing for the last little bit of movement.
Yeah.
Like at that point in time there, it doesn't even matter anymore because you're not backing up like 20 frames back to go by then each frame for the next 20 frames to see when the way the Beyblade is moving it has changed.
Hmm.
You're just looking at that last 2 frames. Okay, this frame, they're both in this spot. This frame, one of them has changed. The other one's still in the same spot. That one won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be a
I
lot.
mean, I think either way, you're gonna have people contesting if something won or not because with the WBBA's definition of spinning, it's like, yeah, I guess it has to be going in the same direction or whatnot. But like, you have that weird thing where they like kind of sit on their side and turn around a couple times, but
Uh-huh.
they're not really like moving.
Uh-huh.
And they, by that definition, it is, but it's not spinning. I don't know. It's really weird.
It's tough.
I don't think. I don't think there's a way to keep everyone happy with like that kind of definition.
No, there's not. But at that point there, you stop worrying about who you're making happy and you worry about what makes the tournament run more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
go ahead.
with the cameras, I'd be more in favor to maybe just say no more slow mo because that's what really makes it bad is when you're slow
Yeah.
moving and all. If you say you have to record in real time, it'd be different because like, that's kind of what I like doing more anyway. I was like, I'd prefer to just watch it over in like real time and see it, and it'd be that'd be better for the WBBA definition than the WBO one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's honestly with you saying that, I think that's a way better answer. Because if you can do it to where it's like real time, then everybody's just looking at it. You could be like, all right, buddy, right there. Like this is when it happens. This is why I saw it. Another thing with the WBBA that I've seen just from mainly watching the videos and when I read the rules myself, the tournaments are structured way different. Once you launch, each player has to step back. So people aren't hovering over the stadium crowding the judge. I don't see any parents standing over the judge. You know, like even the videos like a Beyblade and once again I say WBA is big. WBBA is big. I don't know how they do it in every region. But for the most part, it's like, hey, the only people here up here at the stadium are the judge and the two participants. Like parents stand off to the side. The judge makes the call. He just points to the Beyblade from his naked eye, and then or his or her naked eye, and then they just go on. So there's no like influence and things like that because I think a lot of our events like we just have it's just stressful and it's way too much going on. Like you will have someone's whole family up there being like, "Oh yeah, I think my baby won. My baby won that for sure," you know. And then you got like some 15, 16-year-old judge right there that's like intimidated because everybody like this one player's whole family is backing him behind them, you know. It's like Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind the parents being there because sometimes they just have to be for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just they don't need to like be shouting or saying anything to the judge before they make a decision because then they're influencing it, even if they're not intentionally trying to.
Yeah.
It's like any kind of movement from the players or anything like that it's just subtle enough where it's just like giving off some kind of like signal saying this one won, and it's just in your head before you even look it over again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because then you go from checking to see which one won to checking to make sure this one won instead in your head, and it just changes the way you look at stuff.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
That's very true.
That's why anytime like one of the other judges comes to me for an opinion, I make sure to tell them not to give me any information.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to know whose Beyblade is whose. I don't want to know what points are at. I don't want to know anything except just to look at this video and decide who I think won.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like and because like but the thing is, so like even in real time, you're gonna get some people that are really gonna argue because just this past Blader's Kingdom, I had someone ask me to come up and give my opinion, and I look at it, and I'm watching the video, and they were only filming in real time. They weren't filming in
Slow-mo.
slow-mo. So I'm looking at it, and I see this point in time where, to me, one Beyblade stopped after it got thrown against the wall, and it kind of waddled down the stadium. It clearly looks like it stops to me, but at the same instant of it stopping, the other Beyblade, which was opposite spin, hits it and it starts going again.
Mm.
But to me, I see the stop. But to them, they don't see the stop. And without being able to have it slowed there, you can't be like, okay, look, this frame and this frame, they're exactly the same, so therefore it's stopped.
Yeah. I could
So
um
it's hard.
yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna have to do that with the frame by frame and to see like exactly where it's at because that is a I don't think I've ever looked at it in that way. I just kind of like slide it slow or I just let it go slowly, but that's a whole lot that's a way better way. But what I was gonna say, like in regards to what happened with you, sometimes that losing Beyblade, like that's when they give their opinion and that's when it sucks because they might have known that they stopped, but they don't want to lose that match. So they're like, nope, 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 you know, and you get people arguing with you, which is it's annoying, man. It's annoying. You know, people don't want to accept the L, and some people are just in denial. So
Yeah. Judging is definitely like my least favorite part of WBO tournaments, but it's like the necessary thing I have to be there to do. So it's
yeah,
like I don't really have a choice. It's either I judge or I don't, and like nothing happens.
yeah,
I'm sorry, Jared.
It's fine. I've been doing it for so long. I'm just used to it at this point.
yeah. I do appreciate you.
It's better. It's better now that I'm an adult, and at least I can feel like I can talk to these adults sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
and
yeah.
I don't know how I would have been able to deal with it when I was like 15 doing it. If I had a parent like try to contest a ruling against me,
Yeah.
and that even back then we didn't get the record either, so it was even worse. Luckily, it never happened.
Y'all had was that during the beginning? That was Metal Fight too. Y'all battled.
That was Battle Fight.
Yeah.
And there's no cameras, no nothing.
But y'all didn't have the freaking opposite spin issues we have now, did y'all?
It wasn't as bad, but we had them. We had opposite spin matchups a lot.
Okay.
That wouldn't like get close.
Yeah, man.
Especially later in the Metal Fight's history. Like early on, it wasn't as big of a problem as it is like later in the formats.
I feel like when you get like late into all the Beyblade stuff, it becomes pretty LED heavy.
It seems that way, at least for the past 2 series, for whatever reason.
Yeah, they didn't play plastics. But then they just
Probably just because they have some like power creep stuff.
I mean, everything gets heavier, and eventually you just get to the optimized shape, which is a circle.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It yeah, I guess the consensus, because everyone that I've asked or talked to about it is the same way, man. It's like the cameras do suck because it makes things longer and people can argue more, but at the same time, it could be the same on the other end. If you don't have the cameras, it could be an argument. I feel like it'll be even worse sometimes, just because of the KO rule that we have and the spinning rule that we have, because you can't go back in time. You can't. And if a parent sees something or a player sees something that you didn't, it's a big deal. It's a real big deal.
Like that KO rule, checking it in real time is really hard.
It is.
At least like on the first watch through, because I'm not like expecting it to happen. Because it's just like, I mean, it happens so quickly.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of people. Like I tell my son does this, and it frustrates me. I'm like, when you start recording before you say shoot.
Yep.
Because if you wait until you say shoot and then you go ahead and hit record, you could have missed something. Especially.
I mean, I always make sure I record like before I start counting, so I can make sure everyone's launching at the same time, so you can see if they're on their half of the stadium or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So I mean, it's still important regardless of what the meta is or what rules are going on, because if somebody launches way over the midline, then you have to start that match over anyway. And if they say they weren't, well, you show them the camera and show them that they were.
Yeah. When y'all's
So like,
go ahead.
What was that?
No, go ahead.
I mean, I think having the cameras is better just overall, because like if there's something if I forget the score for whatever reason, I can always go back really quick and make sure I have the score right.
Mm-hmm.
And things like that. Or like let's say for like 3v3, they try to repeat the same combo again, they say they didn't use it, and I say they did already, or something weird. I mean, it shouldn't happen, but I can always just go back and tell them, look, it's right there.
This is what you used right in the last round, the last battle, man. Like, come on. What do y'all consider? Is this defined in the rulebook also? Is it for the back wall? Is it the complete back wall, or is it those two side walls also? Is that considered the back wall?
No, I don't think the sides are considered the back wall.
The sides I don't count.
Okay. And because that's what I was gonna say. Sometimes when it looks weird, because I have seen it bounce from one side to the other and then come back in.
Yep.
Like,
I whenever I think I see a wall bounce happen, I always say just don't touch them yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just make sure. Like I'll tell them don't stop the match or anything. Just let it play out, and then I'll check back, and then I'll award the point after I make sure there was no wall hit.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to stop a match thinking there was a wall hit, and then it not be there, and then you just like screw someone out of a point. Like if somebody's playing its attack, they think the person using the attack type thinks they hit the wall or hit their opponent into the wall, and then they go to pick it up, and then they actually didn't. Well, then the stamina type was going to win probably.
More than likely, yep.
It's like I don't want to restart the match and say, hey, redo it when the stamina person is going to win, or the attack person could be like, well, what if I KO'd them later? And then it's like, well, we shouldn't have stopped the match just in case.
Yeah.
It's better off to play it out.
Yeah. That's why it's like some of the little tedious things. Actually, the WBBA rulebook is a lot shorter from what I've seen. But some of the little tedious things, well, that is actually in the WBO rulebook. You are not supposed to pick up your bays until
Yeah.
the judge says so. But even the
But I
stepping,
mean, some people just do it because they just see the point just get scored and they just do it.
yeah, they do, or they feel like their Beyblade is about to stop. Like this mainly happens
Yeah.
with young kids. They feel like their Beyblade is about to stop, so they just reach in and get it. And it's like, dude, don't do that, please. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, especially considering especially when it's an opposite spin matchup
Yeah.
and one just gets hit farther away, but it's got like almost no stamina,
Hmm.
and a little kid thinks, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna lose," not realizing it's gonna spin equalize.
Yeah. I just pop their hands. Now I'm playing. I don't do that.
I don't think I've had that happen in a while though.
No, well, I
I
mean,
think
I
our
think
communities has gotten better with that kind of stuff. So
yeah, our community definitely has.
Down
Um,
here, we have a lot of we have new players come. I'm sure y'all have new players come every time, but we have probably more new players come than consistent ones.
hmm.
So it's not too
No,
bad.
we're pretty consistent with who we get.
yeah, we're pretty consistent, and we'll have ones that they'll show up, and then they won't show up for like 2-3 tournaments, then they'll show up again. Like they're not a consistent every tournament, but they're consistent enough to know okay, I know who you are.
Yeah. It's well, let me not say that because I don't know. Like Frost, I'm not able to make it to all of his. But mine, I have mine too few and far between, which I'm planning on stopping next month. I'm planning on doing something every single month. Um, and then I'll be able to, build a consistent community. But as of right now, it's like, yeah, new people come and they don't know as much or know as well. And they just make like minor mistakes. I don't flip out or anything like that, but
You have one this month, don't you?
yeah, on well the 26th, it's still April, but um,
But that one's unranked, right?
yeah, it's a FGC event in Raleigh, and then I'm gonna do something in June. I don't know what I'm doing in June. I may just go back to Raleigh again. I don't know. I wanted to go down to Atlanta, but I might not go to Atlanta until the next season of the circuit starts up, and just go down there and get the community back, explain what's going on, and try to find somebody that is willing to organize events down there. Or somebody that can, because that community is just it's insane, but there's no organizers there.
In Florida.
Atlanta or Georgia. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Georgia has an insane amount of players, but there's no organizer. Um, but hopefully there will be. I know Arc is busy, extremely busy.
Yeah.
But there are players like I can't remember his name. He's made it into like the top 8 both times I've been down there. I'm gonna try to talk to his dad because his dad always asks about like when I'm coming back and things like that. And I'm like, man, if you want to help your son and your son becomes an organizer, if you want to become an organizer, like y'all can host these events all the time. And the park down there that we play at is cheap. It's like $75 for the whole day. And you get a turnout of 30 people, you just meet once a month and then just grow. But we'll see.
Yeah, we're only 10 players off from the cap.
For
The FGC that I'm doing up here,
okay.
and
Okay.
the cap is 64.
Okay. Oh, you put it at 64?
Yeah.
You didn't have a cap originally, did you?
So originally, I wrote it in the post that the cap was gonna be 36,
Hmm.
but then I guess when Hanwuja did it, he didn't put a cap on it, and by the time I realized we already had 40 people signed up, so I just said, okay, let's
Yeah.
just put it at 64.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do Allen's. Let's go 64.
Yeah. That's
I mean, we'll have the people to run it. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I want to set up a 4th stadium for this.
yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
You got like
But I mean, I
24
think
people in the first day.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that thing filled up quick.
Yeah.
But I mean, we shouldn't have a spot where we don't have a judge or anything like that, and we have to
No.
wait. Like we have more than enough people that are capable of helping run the event, so it should
Yep.
be fine.
Yeah. I think for Dark Continent, especially if we get the 64 like full participants, I'm gonna try to run 8 stadiums. I'm gonna try to, because if doing that math, you have I think just 4 matches per round. I think if I did my math right. And that'll be a lot easier than switching up stuff. I just have to find people who are willing to judge at least even for a little bit. I don't think it'll be too hard though, but we'll see.
I mean, you'll have most of us there.
Yeah, all of y'all will be there. I'll have y'all. I'll also be judging myself. I need to buy some new stadiums or try to find some. They're so hard to find.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of players are going to come and they're going to bring their stadiums, but I also like to have enough of my own. That way, like, because my worst fear, man, somebody brings their stadium, and it's their one stadium, and I'm using it, and then somebody breaks it because you can't replace it. You know, like even if I pay you, I'm like, hey, man, here's $80 or here's $100. It's like, well, thanks, but I don't have a stadium anymore. You know, and then it's like, man, I'm sorry, bro. You put some tape on it and practice in it, but you won't be able to use it for any more events. So, unless Frost and them kick
I
through
mean,
this stadium rule.
I mean, that's where then I guess what you got to do is you got to just be nice and give them like $150 and tell them they've got to go buy the battle set.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be the only way they can get it. Or not, I'm thinking about it. I'll just give them one of mine. Because I have well, actually, I have 3, but one of them's broke. I'm gonna try to get at least 2 or 3 more if I can find them. So if somebody else's
Yeah.
stadium breaks, I'll definitely just give them mine.
I have 2. One's broken. That one is the one I practice in.
Yeah. How many does Alan have?
Well, I have Alan's old one. Then I think he has one more. I have his old one because it had a dent in it, and Jared just because because it had a dent, he was like, "Well, I have mine here, which doesn't have a dent, so why don't we just use it?" Not saying like Allen's was complete garbage and needed to be thrown away. He was just saying I have one doesn't have a dent, so for the tournament, just use mine.
Yeah, yeah.
And Allen took that as, well, then this one's busted, and he just threw it in the trash can.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not letting that stadium go to waste, buddy.
Yeah, not at this point, no.
That's a BO9. I'm not letting that go to waste.
Yeah, I think
I have 3 of them right now, but one's kind of scuffed, but they're fine.
Yeah. I actually I had a lot at one point.
Did you get yours when they first came out, Jared?
I got them from Dakota or Yami.
Okay.
I got one for when they came out, and he gave me 2 more.
Does he not have any more? Did he get
No, he has.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he has them to get rid of.
Okay.
They're probably not new either, because they're probably the ones we use up here.
Yeah. Does TSO have any?
I think she has at least one.
Okay.
Like, we're just lucky that we're in a good
Area.
place for like Beyblades.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us have the stuff to do it all.
Yeah.
And like, if someone's missing a stadium, well, someone's definitely gonna have a legal one that they can bring.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just for the areas that aren't as good as ours or whatever, or haven't been established enough to have people like us around.
Yep.
That are struggling with it.
And that's what my arguments have always been. Like, I don't care that my area can actually do all this. I care about the areas that can't do it.
That's good. It's solid to be thoughtful, because I think, well, amongst us we have a lot. Especially once we all get together, like North Carolina, all gets together, we definitely have if all of North Carolina came to the Dark Continent, I know we would have 8. We would be able to have 8 of the standard stadiums, and if y'all come, definitely have a plethora of that. But I don't want to run too many stadiums, because then it's it'll get too hectic. Like, we don't have enough judges for that. Not it would be the point where it's everybody's judging, so nobody be having a match. Have the participants judging. But yeah, we'll get there. And building up our area, we'll get there. And the WBO, I feel like, is slowly but surely coming along to open up its doors some to change the rules. So I do think this tournament thing is going to happen. I mean, the stadium thing is going to happen, especially Frost posting up his video that they're actually discussing it. So as soon as they get a little bit of confirmation, I guess, for however long it takes staff to make the decisions that they make, I can see it being implemented. And then it's just on to the next fight of people using different stadiums and people getting angry about it. So
But attack type sucks in the DB stadium, so we shouldn't allow it.
yeah, that is the consensus. That is the consensus.
And an attack type is too overpowered in the dynamite battle or the dash stadium. We shouldn't allow it.
Yeah. Well, I I talked to you about this, Mike. I want to get the Dash Stadium. I know you were being funny, sarcastic. I hate the Dash Stadium, and I'll say that to everybody. But I would love for it to become a competitive play stadium, ranked stadium, because I know I don't like it, and I know I'm terrible. I'm trashing it, but it's something that I want to get good in because it's a new challenge. It's gonna make me play the game differently. Um, it's gonna make me get out of my comfort zone and start using attack. I feel like that's more the competitive mindset. If you're playing only way to win, what are you playing for? You know, if you're playing in
Right.
a way that you know you're always going to win, then you're not competing. You're just you know shooting fish in a
How do you
barrel.
how do you feel about that stuff, Jared?
About what? Just the stadiums in general, or
Like about players and stadiums and stuff like that. Like, do you feel like that it's do you feel like you're actually a better player if you learn how to play in multiple stadiums, or what do you think?
I mean, I'd say you're probably definitely you're more well rounded if you can play in like different stadiums and stuff like that. Um, I definitely think the better players will be able to come out like winning in whatever stadium you end up playing in, because it's just how it feels like Beyblade works. I mean, playing in Blader's Kingdoms definitely taught me that more than anything, because you have to play in literally anything that's out on that floor, and you have to still win. So
Right.
that's like something that we don't get in like the WBO right now, with how you're just stuck on the one stadium. Now, like, I'm not on like the let any and all stadiums be allowed for like a tournament and ranked play, because some of these stadiums are just ridiculous. Like, I wouldn't be for having like any of the random hypersphere stadiums or stuff like that be like allowed. Like, I
Right.
know there's some people that have taken it to that far extreme, and I'm like, no. But I'm definitely not for just only having the one BO9 stadium be the one that's legal, because there's definitely a lot of stadiums that are fair for both players and for like a lot of the different types of combos that could be used. Like, I wouldn't be for using everything, but like the Pro Series Stadium, DB Stadium, Dash Stadium, I'm fine with all those
You know,
being
I
tournament
think
legal.
I think the reason I always use the term everything is because I'm mostly thinking about those like $10
Yeah,
stadiums that have the pockets from Walmart.
those basic ones, and those are nice. Those are fun. I'm thinking about them slingshot stadiums that got like two levels in it, and then
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that's like
Right.
stuff like that. It's like, no.
yeah.
See, I'm thinking about the standard Hasbro like orange, green, whatever 4-pocket stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
Those are what I'm thinking about because they're $10 and the little kids that want to be organizers could afford them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Them
like
slingshot
I'm
ones, though, man.
I'm not thinking about I'm honestly not thinking about like Slingshot and Hyperspear stadiums when I've talked about it. I'm always thinking about the cheapest stadiums that you can get.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm thinking about like if because that was the first one I played in was the slingshot stadium. I think it was slingshot because I got it for my kids as like a set, and you had literally like it was probably like a 5-inch circumference, or not 5-inch circumference, but it was about the size of like a cereal bowl that was flat at the top, and you launch your bays in there, and then they would battle, and then like if they got hit off of that, they would go down this little ridge and go to the bottom part where they would just spin at, and then there was like four empty pockets there, so if they happen to fall in one of those pockets, then they fall out. But it was like, man, there's no way you're calculating that, and if you are, I feel like like I love Beyblade, but you're spending way too much time if you're trying to calculate how to knock a Beyblade out in that stadium.
What do you mean? They're just Megamind.
Yeah, pretty much. You have to calculate. I can't even explain it. Like at that point, it's not. It's fun. It's really fun. Because you just play and see what happens, but the strategy is not there enough to call it like legitimately competitive. Because I feel like competitive is an equal playing field for both players, and then you go in and you just try your best. Where both players have an equal chance of winning. But when it comes to
Yeah.
like it's like all luck, and it's like shoot, I don't know, like we just gonna launch them in here and just see what happens. Like then it's kind of like
Well,
okay,
I mean, I feel like that's what happens with like all the Hasbro gimmick stadiums, but like the Pro Series stadium is like really fair because
it
it's
is,
symmetrical.
it is.
Like there's a lot of stadiums that are symmetrical that we could use that are like a lot of the Takara stadiums are made to be symmetrical that aren't like the electric ones and stuff like that. Like those stadiums, no. I mean, I think they're symmetrical, but like that whole spinning thing in the middle just makes the stadium kind of irrelevant for trying to figure out launch styles and stuff like that.
then you got the Spike Stadium.
And then like the spike, well, that one's not symmetrical, kind. Well, I guess it is
It
down
is.
the middle,
That's
but
symmetrical. Yeah.
that's like that one's just weird because it's
Yeah,
not like
it's
even.
wonky.
I'm talking like it's just a circle in the middle or some kind of circle in the middle, and then the pockets are just even. Like there's
I thought the
one and a half.
Spike one was.
I think that one only has, but
It has 2 pockets, right?
it's two
And then
pockets, but there's one side it's sloped down. It's kind of like one of the Hasbro stadiums where there's a pocket next to like the rounded out part, but there's like a more oval shaped like ridge at the top or something. It's weird.
is it? I've never
Yeah,
seen it in
it's
person.
not.
So.
It's not like the rounded out part is not in the middle of that stadium.
Like from the pictures, it looks like it's just a standard stadium, just only 2 pockets and some spikes.
Nah, it's the middle. Like the sloped part where like a lot of stuff will sit is closer to the pocket on one of the sides.
Huh. Interesting.
Is this a Hasbro stadium?
No, it's a Takara one
No,
that came out very early.
but it has Takara.
Is it?
Has these little like movable spike barriers that you can put around the walls and stuff.
I think we sold that one at one point. I didn't play in it though. I know someone was angry because they thought it was a B09 when it clearly stated what it was, and they bought it. But yeah, man. As long as this is, I agree. As long as it's symmetrical and competitive, where it's like both players stand an equal chance of winning, and it's like less luck based, which I guess is. I know some people will argue that because it's like it's Beyblades, like sometimes luck is just involved. But as long as it's balanced, I feel like in a sense, like it's okay to have it incorporated. And with that, yes, I do agree with you, Mike, as far as the $10 stadiums and things like that. As long as we can get it structured. But Hasbro is extremely creative with the things that they do. A little bit too creative sometimes. Yeah.
I'd have to look into that one basic stadium you're talking about again because I haven't seen them in a while. I haven't seen those in stores in a while either, though.
Oh, they're in every Walmart I walk into.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Because I know, like for each series, like I see like I've seen a lot of that orange, Hyper Sphere one, like the 4-sided one. I see that one a lot, or I saw it a lot when Hyper Sphere was coming out, but then I haven't seen it past then. But I mean, I haven't been looking too hard at what stadiums are around anymore. I think I know the one you're talking about, but I haven't seen that one in a while when I've gone into stores.
Yeah. They're all here. They're blue, green, and orange or orange. They got them at 5 and below too. They got them at Walmart,
Oh,
Target.
yeah. I haven't seen that one in a while. I know the one you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they have a standard one that is always this.
It's that 3-sided one, right?
It's 4-sided.
It's 4?
Yeah.
Nah, I think we are thinking of different ones then.
Yeah.
You'd have to show me.
They're pretty balanced and they're nice. Like you can play in those and it's balanced. It's not super gimmicky. It's not like crazy. And yeah, like I said, Mike, like I do agree that those are good for kids who are just starting out and they want to build up their area and do a little bit of rank play and something like that. I feel like we would definitely have to get maybe a little bit different rule set because they're like KOs would have to be treated a whole lot different if KOs are even possible. but overall, like that stadium, I feel like it's balanced enough to do a competition and a legitimate one in.
Yeah, I just sent the picture to Jared. So he's
Oh,
probably
you're talking about those ones. I mean, the
yeah.
one you sent me is like the hypersphere one, but I know they have like the flattened ones for like the regular stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like those are like the ones you generally find now. Like I see the orange one a lot, and I've seen the green one a lot. Which the green one is exactly the same.
There's one that I've seen. I'd have to find it later and show it to you guys.
I know the blue one that I think you're talking about that has 3 sides.
Yeah, I think
That
that
was
the
like
early one.
yeah, that was like original burst.
Yeah. So
All right, so another thing we can talk about, Jared. How about that deck from Blader's Kingdom?
And which one?
The past 3, even though you've been to 2.
I've been to 2 and done pretty well with the 1.
So.
I mean, I guess you had the whole video up. It doesn't matter anymore. I was gonna say, do we say anything? But you literally have a video on your YouTube channel. Go check it out, guys, if you're listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty good for that format because all those combos are really general. But even I guess it kind of just carries over for any kind of 5G format. Now, if it was 3, you definitely switch the combos around. But
Yeah. 3G you have
for
to switch the
5G, something
combos.
like that looks pretty optimal for like any kind of stadium that you're playing in. At least like the Takara ones or like Pro Series.
Yeah. We still have an issue with the Astral though.
Yeah.
Like the Astral combo, we can't decide what we really want to do with it. Right now, it was just fixed in right spin. But granted, I think in like a 5G format, you couldn't use that and World,
No.
so it would have to definitely change into something else.
How,
Maybe like Roar.
how is it working out? Did y'all because I know Mike put out the advice. Did he changed that rule as far as like having the various deck rotation variations in your deck?
No.
No, he didn't. That's you're still allowed to have multiple. You're just only allowed 1 rotation change per lineup, like per I guess before each reshuffle. Me and Jared have after this past one because here's the thing, he made that rule and when me and him were originally discussing it, I talked to him about it and I had my concerns, but at the same time I figured it might be okay, so I didn't press the matter. We haven't had one until this past one where somebody decided to have 2 LA like massive LED combos, one being on Drift, one being on Mobius, and having both of them be rotation changers. So it made it really awkward because if either one of them got lucky as to what it was going to go up against, the other one was free to change its spin if it needed to.
And when you change, is it only are you okay? So when you like the first time around, I haven't shuffled. I changed the rotation of my drift. Second time around, I shuffle. Can I change the rotation of my Mobius if I don't change
Yes.
drift? Oh,
Yes.
You can change either one. You just get 1 rotation change overall per set. Like every time you place an order, so like you show your original 5, you put them back, and then your first 5 battles, you run through them all. You get 1 rotation change from that run through, and then once you reshuffle and set them into a new order, you can rotation change once again. It doesn't matter what combo changes either.
Yeah.
Right. So like it was something that I had a concern about initially, but I didn't press the matter because honestly for like we're now about to be on Blader's Kingdom 8. For 6 out of the 7 that have already happened, it never popped up and was an issue. Like never once did it pop up and was an issue. This past one, where JC Make and Burst ran through me and Geetster basically with that, because, like I said, one of his combos will get lucky where he didn't have to change his spin direction, and then the other one he was free to change it if he needed to. So, and having two different bays at a 50-50 chance, that's pretty good odds. And the unfortunate thing is you reveal your order in which you're going. So when you reveal your order, they already instinctively are able to just look at your order and say, okay, well, if my first Beyblade I would want to change against, I can still quickly look to see if the Beyblade, the other one, is going to need to switch or not. And I can make a judgment based on that if I want to keep this one in same spin and try for the same spin matchup, or if the other one might have a better shot at the same spin matchup.
Yeah. I can see it.
So,
I can see it. I can see it being overpowered, but I can also see it like if everybody started doing that, like if you pick up on it, if that's the way the rules are.
right, but
Yeah.
then it comes into another thing where if something is so overpowered, then we're just like everyone's doing it. No one else is doing any other innovative things now.
Yeah.
Like that's two of your combos that are no longer innovative.
Yeah. Yeah. You see that because
But
you're just running like world or master.
that's exactly what it was.
Mm.
World and Master. I mean, like, nothing against JC. Like, shout out to him. I mean, he had a good idea and he executed it well. But it's still just the fact of when you think about it in the broader scheme, like, is that a potential issue for the format? And that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, I think it's a potential issue.
The issue with it to me is there's no real way to punish somebody doing that against you.
Right.
The only way you punish them is if they switch and they still lose the matchup, which doesn't happen often because they're more in control because they're switching their direction.
Right.
And so even if they're in unfavorable matchups for both spin direction changing Beyblades, they can make the judgment to say, well, this one has a better chance of winning in same spin. I'm not going to change that one. And then the next one, let's say they get a point off the one that they do get to change. Well, that's 1-1, and it just evened out. So then it's just up to the other three combos to win.
Yeah.
Right. So it gives them a lot more manipulative ability. They have a lot more manipulation that they can do. Granted, you could say if instead of showing the order, like granted you would have to still have like boxes that give the direct order, but instead of showing the order you go in blind, then at least if I reveal my third Beyblade and they reveal their third Beyblade and it's their spin changer, they don't know, and they say they have their second spin changer in the fifth spot.
They don't know
They have
what
no
you're going to use,
right,
what direction you're going in, so they can't tell whether or not they need to switch or they need to think about it a little
right,
bit more. Yeah. Yeah.
right. But
The only
at the same time, they could just put their two spin changers at the end. And then by that time, because they've already seen your deck, because you're allowed to inspect each other's decks. If you have both spin changers at the end, when the first one comes up, you've ran through their Beyblades. You know what their last Beyblade is.
Mm-hmm.
So you're back at the same point where you can quickly make the decision: do I change my direction here, or is this better in the same spin compared to the other one? What the other one's going to go against?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not an issue in a format where everything is completely blind, at least for the first run through. It's an
Right.
issue for Blader's Kingdom specifically because there's no judging, so you have to be able to look at your opponent's stuff beforehand to make sure everything is like right.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, like this is why I mean, honestly, it could work at anything, but not being able to not know beforehand, because then even if you put them at the end, you still have no idea what you're going against next. You can make an educated guess, be like, oh, well, they ran through these 4 layers. What is their last layer potentially, or most
Right.
likely? But you still don't know the driver it's on or anything like that. But I mean, that kind of rewards knowing the part pool better, but at the same time, it's still kind of degenerate.
Yeah.
But it's just an issue that can't be solved in that format, specifically for Blader's Kingdom, because there's no judging.
Right.
So there's no judge to confirm the 5 combos ahead of time to make sure they're right. You have to do it yourself for your opponent, and they have to do it for you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'll find people all the time that are using 2 of the same disc or something like that. Not maliciously, they just don't realize it when they put their Beyblades together.
Right.
But
Yeah,
like, obviously, the judge
you'll get people with double discs or double armors all the time, and you
Yeah.
have to be like, look, you got to change this here because it's the same thing.
And like the thing that sucks about that is when you're doing it that way, you already seen all their combos already.
Yeah.
While if it's a judge before a match telling them, hey, you need to switch that, well, the opponent hasn't seen it yet, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. I can see how he was thinking, because sometimes I've left things even in my rules that if a player can take advantage of it, like, then they can. Because I know y'all came up with a great skill or theme with the rotation change when it was 3v3, and you would just put it at the end and then put it at the beginning. If you had a drift combo, that way you could switch and get those points. Versus me, I will put it at the beginning. I put it at the beginning of every time that I shuffled. That way it kind of makes sure I give me their point. But I can see also with having the Mobius and the drift, and you're seeing their combos, how it could be hectic. If other people pick up on it, then that's the meta of Blader's Kingdom. But I can also see if it gets too repetitive and everybody's doing it, so then it's like, well, geez, you know. But I guess even in that sense, if you go against 2 rotation changes, then it's just more mind games to see, like, hey,
Yeah.
are they going to switch into opposite, or are they going to stay the same, or whatever. So there's a lot of
Right.
variables to it.
I mean, like, because people right now could technically argue, even if there was only one rotation changing in Blader's Kingdom, right now the deck that me and Geetzer have been using, which is almost exactly the same. Like, you might have a couple chips or armor changes, but other than that, the drivers and discs and layers are all the same with each other. So you go through that, and it's like, well, that, like, I won a first place, and then the very next one, Geetzer won a first place, and I got second, and now this one we both got second and third. So clearly, this deck is super powerful in that format.
Yeah.
So,
Solid.
you know, but at the same time, I also feel like a big portion of that, though, is also us knowing the matchups better when they happen. Like, we have very generic combos that are very safe,
Mm-hmm.
but we also, like, know when to change to high mode. We know when to be in low mode. We know when to light launch. We know when to launch in front of a wall and not a pocket. All that kind of stuff. We know that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a big thing in Blader's Kingdom. You have to understand the mechanics of Beyblades, not only your own, but like your opponents, and to know what's going on. Because if you don't, with that on top of the combination of you're playing in a different stadium in every single match, you'll more than likely just die out like really early, or you'll lose all your coins like really early. But as long as you have like knowledge of the Beyblade mechanics and just the game in general, like, you do fairly well. Feel like.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. But yeah, thank y'all, man. I appreciate y'all. We're coming up on time. I'm gonna run back
Yep.
to the house. I'll catch y'all. Thank y'all for listening. I know we start off with WBBA. Definitely hop into a whole lot of Beyblade discussions. Hope it's something good for y'all to listen to. Leave comments down below on whatever you think. Gonna kick back into some future interviews after this one. Reach out to some people. Hopefully, get you more great topics of discussions. Overall, still get out there, continue to keep Beyblading and building your communities. Take that WBO organizer quiz if you're able to. If not, still get out and have some fun. All right, and take care.